Ladies and gentlemen, the Football Scoop podcast is back. It's week 2. I'm ready for games. It's Thursday. We got NFL tonight. No college football. That's life. College football's back Friday. Saturday is just phenomenal. Texas, Michigan. Guys, I'm jumping right in. I am here to talk college football. I got John Bryce, Zach Barnett, Doug Samuels. Doug Samuels won week 1 picks by a large margin. Kudos to Doug. Good job. Good job. I'm going to start, even though he's a Michigan man, I'm going to start with Zach Barnett on this one. Texas at Michigan. It's an early kick. It's an early opportunity to learn about both teams. Zach, tell me what you see.
Yeah, I mean, I led off the on the line piece this week with the nation's longest winning streak should end on Saturday. Not will, but should, even though I'm picking Texas to win. There's very few reasons why Texas should lose this game. And you start at the quarterback position. How often do we see such a disparity in quarterback between Davis Warren and Quinn Ewers that we'll see where the lesser quarterback comes out and wins the game? From where I sit, I think Michigan's best path to victory is playing Alex Orji, making Texas try to defend 9 gaps in the run game, keeping the offense out there, keeping the clock moving, and hoping Texas eventually breaks. It seems like Michigan coaches disagree with me because Alex Orji hardly played against Fresno State. So Michigan receivers had 6 catches for 34 yards in the whole game against Fresno State. Texas has the deepest receiving core in the country. If I'm Steve Sarkisian, the temptation is to play it a little bit conservative and trust that your defense can hold Michigan to 17 points or fewer. The more I think about it, the more I think you need to be aggressive early and force Michigan, build up a 10-point lead and force Michigan to try and throw its way back into the game. But I think Texas wins, and I think there's an equal chance that Texas wins by 10 plus than there is that Michigan wins by 1.
Part of the reason why I love you guys is because you've actually spent time going, the more I think about this, you've actually thought about this. You all are sick, amazing, incredible humans, and I love each of you. Doug, from a Michigan perspective, they got shot?
I really don't think so. I think Michigan has walked into this season overrated, considering how much they lost, both staff-wise and roster-wise. Do you get the returning, or you get the EA Sports cover athlete in the backfield? Sure, you got that. But I just think Sark and those guys have too much firepower. I think they're elite scheming things up to get dudes open, and to see how Michigan struggled that week 1 game against Fresno State. I don't have a lot of hope for Michigan in this one. I think Texas wins, and I think the spread, last I looked at it yesterday, can't remember what it was, 6.5, 7.5, something like that. The 10, whatever. I think Texas by 2 touchdowns.
We'll see. JB, got any thoughts there?
Oh yeah, I was waiting on you to signal me. I thought that when we talked about Michigan, we use signals. I've got the horn hooking them. So absolutely, Michigan was. I was picking Texas full tilt going into this season, regardless week 2. But Michigan did nothing last week to impress me at all. They had a lot of penalty yardage, not that many penalties, just 5 penalties, but 70 yards of penalties, which isn't that much less than what they had total yards rushing, even with the aforementioned, thanks to Coach Doug, NCAA college football game cover model. So I just don't like Michigan in this contest. I don't think Michigan is remotely a complete team. They'll keep it close because it's at home, in my opinion, for a while. But Texas is bigger, deeper, stronger, better right now. Michigan lost a school record 13 draft picks. That's one of the highest numbers for any program in NFL history. It's a Michigan record, and it's a headset mismatch. Sharon Moore is not ready to match wits with Steve Sarkisian over the course of a game, in my opinion, nor is the rest of the Michigan coaching staff ready to match up with the entirety of the Texas coaching staff. Again, at home last week against Fresno State, which also was breaking in a new head coach and had done so under tragic circumstances with Jeff Tedford that I think we all have tremendous respect for. And yet at home, they had like 250 yards offense, less than 275 for sure. At home against a non-Power 4 team, they're not going to have considerably more success this week against Steve Sarkisian and the Horns.
Sounds to me like the collective you three are ready to say Texas is back.
I called Texas being back last year.
He did. John was early on this.
All right. Quinn Ewers and Dr. Pepper commercials is fantastic. Arkansas is at Oklahoma State. That one has the ability to go way off the rails and be spectacular football.
I think it's a great game. It's obviously an old rivalry contest. I think maybe they haven't met in 40 years, but they've met, I don't know, 40 times or something like that. It's a large number. Border rivals, and Arkansas looked solid last week. I know it's just one game against an FCS foe and all of that. Oklahoma State's veteran offensive line is the difference in this game. I think I talked about them last week, and Zach dismissed their prowess, but I think they've got over 200 career starts, something along those lines. I do think it's close. I think Arkansas, we'll see. Saturday will be a huge litmus test. I talked to some people in Fayetteville this week. They think they're a little better than what the rest of the outside world thinks. And, Bobby Petrino will want to try to put his best foot forward in this game with the national TV opportunity against a fellow offensive mind like Mike Gundy.
Did you just say that the offensive line has a collective 200 starts?
I think that's right.
Holy smokes. That's incredible.
And blocking for arguably the best running back in college football.
And a seventh-year quarterback and a staff that's been there forever. It's easy to see why so many people are high in Oklahoma State. At the same time, I think Oklahoma State's offensive line, while they have a lot of experience, I don't think they have a whole mess of actual talented, future NFL players on that offensive line. And really, I don't think they have a lot of future NFL players outside of Ollie Gordon. And I think a team like Arkansas can go in, think they're prepared to go into Stillwater and overwhelm Oklahoma State at the line of scrimmage. Arkansas, as John mentioned, looked great last week. They scored 10 touchdowns on their first 10 possessions, set an FBS record. They played a SWAC team. What does that really mean? Probably nothing. But I do wonder if you gave Sam Pittman truth serum, if he'd get out of this game, considering what they have ahead of him and what they have to lose if they lose this game. But I give Arkansas a good chance to go in there and win this game. Mm-hmm. I picked against Oklahoma State last week. They won by 24 against South Dakota State. I continue to be a little bit skeptical of this Oklahoma State team, though.
All right, I'm going to stay in that 11 o'clock central window. Kansas State goes to Tulane. Tulane started, I believe, a first-time, FBS quarterback last week, geared up against FCS Southeast Louisiana. K-State comes to town. If John Summerall shocks K-State, which I don't know, shock is the right term. If he beats a straight up K-State team, a good K-State team, whoo, buddy, there'd be some acumen there and a lot of discussion about John Summerall again. Any thoughts on that one, guys?
Yeah, if he wins this game, John Summerall's 25-4 as a head coach. I believe I have that right. I mean, that would be an incredible statement for them. Unfortunately for Tulane, K-State will have full attention and full respect on this Green Wave team, considering Tulane went to Manhattan and beat them straight up in 2022. That was a great Tulane team and a really good K-State team. I think this is the type of game where Avery Johnson should be the difference, K-State's quarterback. Dude's a Heisman Trophy dark horse for a reason. He's got great ability in the pass game and the run game. And I think it'll be close, but I think this is a game K-State should win.
I agree.
I think.
Yeah. Go ahead, John.
I was just going to say, I'm picking K-State in this game in our football picks panel. And Tulane, even though it's a different regime, has gained a great measure of national respect in recent years for the win that Zach mentioned, for the near win in a 40-35 loss at Oklahoma about 3 years ago, and then for what the Green Wave did last year against Ole Miss, nearly upsetting the Lane Train. And so I don't think Kansas State goes in there overlooking them. John Summerall, you're right, ZB. I think he won 23 games in his 2 years at Troy, and then a win last week puts him at 24. He's a great coach. He's one of the best young head coaches in college football, in my opinion. If Tulane finds a way to win, all it does is further ratchet up the stakes between Memphis and Tulane as we move forward in the season for which one of those teams, in my opinion, would have the inside track to that at-large playoff berth for the group of 5.
Yeah, Boise's got a big one tonight or that Saturday night as well. Tulane, if they beat K-State, they then got to go to Oklahoma the following week. So, I mean, Tulane's just going to be tested early on. It'd be fascinating. It'd be a fun one to watch. All right, Cy-Hawk, jumping to the 2:30 window. Iowa State's at Iowa. Does Iowa State have a shot in this one?
I'm not sure after Tim Lester blows up for 40 points in his debut. I mean, I think that was a concern coming into this year is what would the Tim Lester offense look like for the Hawkeyes, and I think they put a dramatic stamp on it week 1, and I think it's going to be tough sledding for Matt Campbell and company at Iowa State.
Iowa State's top 17 points against Iowa once since 2017, and they happen to lose that game. And when you play an Iowa offense that we all think can get to the magical land of 17 points, it makes it difficult. Iowa State did not look great against North Dakota last week, struggled to run the ball. They should have a really good quarterback in Rocco Becht, a lot of experience on this Iowa State team. But I mean, the Cyclones have struggled in this matchup for as long as Matt Campbell's been there.
And not only have the Cyclones struggled in this matchup, I think winning only once under Matt Campbell. But you referenced, and 17 was the only year they scored more than 17. I think they still lost that game or got to 17. And here's the thing that we don't note, or we haven't yet noted. They've done that and been unable to attain much scoring whatsoever, despite having had Brock Purdy, who's starting this weekend in the NFL. They had an NFL starting quarterback, and they still couldn't get over the hump in this series. They don't have an NFL starting quarterback now. Iowa is still really, really good on defense. They're looking mildly competent on offense, and I think that the Hawkeyes win this game, and they win it convincingly.
I was feeling Brett Bielema watching Boston College take a knee on Florida State and run it out. And Scotty Van Pelt brings Bill O'Brien on, and I'm like, it's set up for you, dude. Come on, go Brett Bielema, go borderline neurotic. And he withheld that, and then
I was thinking that the exact same moment. I was about to tweet something, and I looked down and I saw you tweet it. I was like, Scott said everything there is to say.
And then Van Pelt brings up the sweat stains, and O'Brien damn near lost his mind on him. That was amazing. Okay. Kansas is at Illinois. This is actually an enormous game. Huge implications for somebody's bold prediction. How do we see this one playing out, John?
You know, I think that the health of Jalen Daniels, what Lance Leipold has done with that program, I like Kansas in this game. I do think it's very close. Illinois will try to play bully ball, and Illinois has made some really strong staff additions from last year to this year under Bielema. I just think that Lance will not allow the Jayhawks to get out coached, and that Jalen Daniels is an X factor in this contest. And even though it's on the road, I think the spread is maybe 5.5 points, and that doesn't surprise me. That makes me almost want to pick Illinois in our picks this week, but I've got to stay true to my bold predictions. And I also just think Kansas still is the better team.
You've got
I think that's going to be game of the day. Sorry, go ahead,
two teams that love to run the football. Illinois, I think, a little more smash mouth and less finesse, but Kansas is a top 6 run team in the country right now. I think they're ranked 6th in rushing yards, and Illinois is top 30. I think they're like 27th or something like that. But just two very contrasting styles where Brett Bielema is going to turn around and hand the ball to the tailback, and then you've got kind of a 2 or 3-headed monster at Kansas. So they both want to run the ball. They're going to run the ball in different ways. It's going to be a fun one to watch.
I seriously think that's going to be the best game of the whole day. And if you can sit and watch one game, that's going to be great football. John Bryce, I'm going to take us down the day a little bit later. This is a big one in your world. Tennessee, NC State, I think the place is going to be going crazy. I think Tennessee fans travel well. Tell me about this one.
Yeah, in Charlotte, not quite a sellout. I guess this is maybe the Duke's Mayo Classic again as that continues to percolate as one of the preseason neutral site contests. Nico Iamaleava last week started his first ever start in Neyland Stadium, 10 for 10 passing, set a program record with 314 first half passing yards, topping the gunslinger number 8, Tyler Bray, who had 313.5 against Troy a few years ago, a game that I was at. So anyway, I like Nico. The defense looked better, frankly, than I was expecting last week. They're deeper. They're more athletic. They got one of the best defensive line coaches in the country in Rodney Garner. They have the best edge rusher in the country in James Pierce. And as much as I'm really high on Tennessee, I'm still very, very skeptical of the pack. Concepcion, the sophomore wide receiver, is a really nice player. They've got some veteran pieces, but they were down, as you were noting, as we discussed, they were down in the second half to a Western Carolina team that, again, lost multiple coaches off of its staff to Pitt and also lost some of its best players in the portal. And yet NC State was lumbering with them. So NC State's defense is really, really good. He does a great job with it every year. But Tennessee, too much firepower, too much speed. This has been one of the lines that's moved the most this week in Vegas for people who pay attention to such things. And I'm not saying I'm one of those degenerates, but I think it started out as around 4.5 or 5.5 points. And last I saw, it was circling around 8.5 points. So a lot of action coming in on the Vols, a lot of confidence in the Vols. I think Tennessee wins by 2+ touchdowns.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, Tennessee's offense is so hard to prepare for and hard to stop if you can't overwhelm them at the line of scrimmage. And NC State's not going to be able to do that. And Nico's – John, correct me if I'm wrong here, but Nico is on track to be clearly the best quarterback that Josh Heupel's had operating his offense. And I think the Vols run away with this. And if you gave me – I'm not going to lay any money on this, but I like the Vols to double the spread and win this by 17+.
If I were going to lay it, I'd lay the points in a heartbeat and take Tennessee. NC State really, you're like, are they holding back? In trying to save stuff, but then they're like, no, we got to win this game. And even when they had to go win the game, it wasn't super strong. So, that hasn't been concerned. Sorry,
I was just going to say, let's remember last year also NC State was terrible in its opener against UConn, and we thought, okay, maybe Jim Morris got a little something going with UConn, and they're not bad. No, UConn was really bad, and NC State was pretty bad early in the season, and then righted itself and closed the year much more strongly. But this is another year where much is expected of Dave Doeren in the pack. They're ranked number 24, and typically the years that they have the bigger expectations are not the best Dave Doeren teams.
All right, the other most interesting game of the night in my mind, Boise State. A lot of people think they have the best shot at making the 12. A lot of people really think Oregon's probably the best team in the country. A lot of teams, people predicted that. Boldly predicted they probably could win it at the end of the year. But week 1, Idaho gave Oregon everything they wanted and more. Boise came out just on fire and was just running at will. Georgia Southern found a little bit and put up a good fight, but Boise just had too much offense. Boise's defense wasn't amazing, to be honest. Against Oregon, different challenge. How do we see this one playing out?
I mean, you have to think if Idaho can execute the game plan that it did against Oregon, then surely Boise State can copy and execute that game plan of just keep everything in front of you, tackle what you see, force Oregon to dunk its way down the field, and shorten the game, shorten possessions, and hopefully increase Ashton Janty's impact on the game. I mean, the stat that made the rounds was Dylan Gabriel set the record for most yards, most completions in an Oregon debut. He was 40 of 49 or whatever it was. And it was like, this is an indictment on Oregon's game here and their execution. They have to throw so many passes for so many yards against an FCS team that they can't take the top off an FCS defense. So if I'm Boise State, I just exactly copy what Oregon or what Idaho did to Oregon and hope that our superior talent on offense can allow us to pull off what would be the upset of the season so far.
I think it's imperative for Boise State to get off early in this game, because if not, and Scott, I think you're the one who shared it in our Slack this week that Oregon's offensive linemen were wearing T-shirts that said 2.9 YPC, 2.9 yards per carry, because they were so anemic on the ground last week in that home opener. I would not expect that to be the case this week. And if Oregon gets a fast start, Oregon will pour it on and pull away in this contest. So, again, Boise State has to start fast. Boise State is not constructed to be a comeback team. They need to lead on Janty. And if that's taken away from them early, this game gets ugly.
Professional move. Doug, I'd love your thoughts on it, but Oregon putting their own offensive linemen in shaming T-shirts that said we couldn't move Idaho's defensive line off the ball is just incredible.
Motivate by any means necessary. So if that's what lights a fire under your butt to get things changed, I mean, they ran for 107 yards against Idaho. So credit to Idaho and their defensive game plan. I know offensively that Idaho's really creative, and Jason Eck does a great job there offensively. But I mean, you're now facing a team that just ran roughshod over Georgia State last week to the tune of 6 touchdowns and a whole bunch of yards. If it's a battle of the offensive lines, you better hope Oregon's got what it takes to flip the script this week.
All right, I'm gonna throw a couple of non-top 25 games to you guys real quick. South Carolina, Kentucky at Kentucky. There's no love between these teams. I think that one there could be some fireworks late in that one. Any quick thoughts on that one?
The injury report bowl. Oh, excuse me. The SEC has emphasized we are not to call them injury reports. It's the player participation report bowl, and that is the first game in SEC history with mandatory player participation availability reports that were first submitted last night for the preliminary purposes. They get resubmitted Saturday, 90 minutes before kickoff. You can't list the guys out and then play him, or it's a significant fine to that institution and potentially even the head coach, I believe. But you're right. There's no love lost. This has been a big win for Shane Beamer at times through the years. It's been a bad loss for Mark Stoops. Those roles will be reversed on the synthetic bluegrass inside the giant shopping cart at Kroger Field when Kentucky, I think, really hammers South Carolina this weekend, and it's going to ratchet up a lot of pressure on Shane Beamer moving forward.
Zach, let me come to you for UTSA Texas State. You know, a couple of years ago, one program was thriving, one team was not. G.J. Kinney comes in, changes everything. All of a sudden, this is like a pick'em.
Is he muted?
Zach? Yeah, I think you might be muted, Zach.
Zach, you muted, bud. Can he not hear us?
All right. Can't get Zach done.
I think it just hit him. No?
Nope. All right, JB, I'm coming to you. Eastern Kentucky, Western Kentucky. Did you see the uniform crybaby stuff back and forth?
No, I did not. I did not see that.
So Western Kentucky, months ago sends out, hey, to all their fans, for this game, we're going to wear red. This game, we're going to wear white. Well, this is their whiteout, right? They're the home team, so they've got to ask the visitors, hey, y'all cool if we wear white? And Eastern's like, nah, dog, can't help it. We're wearing white. So,
I love that. I love that out of Walt Wells and company. What he's done at EKU has been really impressive. They had a tough opening week last week, but they will not go in there daunted whatsoever. There is a significant rivalry there between those two universities. So that's not just among the football programs. Those universities are rivals. And so, again, Walt Wells has done a great job in the portal through the years. They've had veteran quarterback play. They really turned their program around during COVID, the fall of 2020, when most FCS schools said that they were not going to play. And Eastern Kentucky just said, you know what, we're going to go play a schedule instead of practicing all fall, and then we'll play our regular schedule in the spring as well. And that really springboarded the program on a different trajectory under Walt Wells. Ty Helton, the best thing he ever did was escape Jeremy Pruitt after 1 year as his offensive coordinator, take over at Western Kentucky. I think Tyson Helton's got a chance to guide Western Kentucky this year to enough wins that he gets some more head coaching opportunities. He was on the periphery of some of the jobs in this most recent carousel. And I think he's got a real chance to sustain success over the course of the season at Western Kentucky and be another candidate that people really look at come November. Maybe it starts late October. That's another debate.
Tyson might also be an option to go to a Power 5 as an offensive coordinator and then the springboard up. So we'll see. All right, Zach, talk to me about UTSA Texas State.
Yeah, I've been holding my breath this whole time. Finally get to speak. So Texas State UTSA is the fiercest rivalry in college football that has an all-time series record of 5-0. These schools have been they've been rivals for a long time outside of the football field, and now UTSA has finally started their program, and they've won all 5 meetings so far. And the relationship between G.J. Kinney and Jeff Traylor goes back to when G.J. played for Jeff at Gilmer High School in Texas darn near 20 years ago. They coached together under Chad Morris at SMU in Arkansas. It's a father-son type of bond that these two guys have. And now there's a real opportunity for G.J. to beat Jeff on Saturday in San Marcos. And Texas State, their embrace of their own football program has been temperamental, to put it nicely. A lot of Texas State students are Longhorn fans or Aggie fans that just wind up at Texas State, and they don't necessarily spend their weekend supporting the Bobcats. But if they beat UTSA, they're I-35 rival for the first time. It has the potential to get wild down there in San Marcos, and this is definitely a game to keep in your clicker rotation in that afternoon window, because it'll be an entertaining football game. Texas State has a lot of pieces. They were the most improved team in the country last year in year 1 under GJ. UTSA is breaking in a new offense with Frank Harris ran that thing for 7 years darn near at UTSA. So this has the potential to see, if you want to see students swimming in a river, if that's what you want out of your Saturday, this could deliver that for you.
I love it. Doug, you were touting Matt Rule's potential for a big season. Well, they took care of UTEP, but they got Prime coming to town. Tell me what you see here.
I was really impressed with Dylan Raiola's his debut as the Huskers quarterback as a true freshman. I was really impressed. Made good decisions, took care of the football. If they can do that with a Matt Rule offense, and then play scout defense, they're going to be one of those Big Ten teams that can maybe sneak in the playoff if they can continue to handle this. So, my question is, and Colorado had their hands full with NDSU. Huskers are going to be ground and pound and then play action pass deep, very much in the same mold, except they're a Power 5 program. They're a Big Ten team. So I think Prime and company are going to be outmanned. I think Travis Hunter continues to have a Heisman type season. I don't think there's anyone stopping him, but they're going to have some issues. My question for you guys, I've been waiting to ask this for 2 weeks. Is being relevant at Colorado more important than if Prime has another 4-8 season? Are they happy being relevant? I don't think 80% of college football fans could name the past 2 Colorado head coaches, but you ask them now, and everyone knows Prime. What's more important, being relevant or winning?
Well,
are you asking like would Colorado go 4-8 under Dion or go 7-5 under pick a random head coach?
That's a good way to look at it. Yeah.
I think they'd rather have Prime, to be honest with you.
I think having Prime gives them hope that a 4-8 campaign will lead to an 8-4 and then maybe a 10-2 campaign. So to your question, Doug, we've heard Dion say numerous times over the course of the summer leading into this season that he plans on being there for a long time. Quote, I'm not a baby daddy. I'm not following my sons to the NFL. I'm a coach and I'm a father, and I'm not going to the NFL or leaving Colorado just because Shedeur and Shiloh and Travis Hunter and those guys will be gone after this season. Jimmy Horn, he says he's staying around to rebuild at Colorado. The fact is, if he has another 4-8 season, it takes some of the decision-making power away from Dion as to how long he's at Colorado. Not that he would be in any trouble even after this year with 4-8, but there would be a lot more questions being raised, and it would turn 2025 into much more of a referendum year for Coach Prime. I think Nebraska wins this game Saturday. I think Raiola looked poised, certainly beyond a first start freshman a week ago. And I think that Lincoln, Nebraska has waited for a game like this for years and years and years. It's going to be insane. The Colorado offensive line, despite starting Jordan Seaton, the consensus 5-star #1 tackle in the 2024 signing class. Well, he's a freshman playing left tackle in power conference football. That's really freaking hard to do. And this game was a little bit tight last year before Colorado ended up blowing out the Huskers 36-14 in Folsom Field. But let's not forget, this was the Jeff Sims turnover chain game. He had 4 turnovers in this game. Nebraska had 4 turnovers. I think Sims was responsible for 3 of them, an interception, a couple of fumbles, and that's not going to be what Nebraska has out of its offense on Saturday. So Matt Rule, year 2, has always made significant progress forward in all the programs he's helped rebuild at the collegiate level, I should note. And I think Nebraska wins this game, and I think Nebraska probably wins this game handily.
There's a bunch of other really good football games out there. I think San Jose State Air Force could be a really good game. I think App State Clemson could wind up being a very good game. And, like Nevada has shown up, really played well last week. At Troy, they got Georgia Southern coming across. Jeff Choate turned that thing around like on a dime. Any other games you guys want to talk about real quick?
SMU BYU, fascinating. You just referenced Nevada and Jeff Choate, and they should have beaten SMU to open the season. This is a key contest, a key non-conference contest between 2 Southern Power Conference residents, ACC stalwart SMU. You can't think about the Atlantic Coast and not think about the heart of Dallas. And then you've got BYU in the Big 12. This is a big year for Kalani Sitake, one of my favorite people in the coaching industry, an incredibly fine man, but coming off of an incredibly disappointing year last year in their first year in the Big 12. They've got a lot more difficult games ahead on their schedule. They've got Utah looming and the resumption of that rivalry toward the end of the year. This is a really key early season game for the Cougars.
I'll stay on the Cougars. One game I'm going to keep an eye on for sure is Texas Tech, Washington State. It's the Mike Leach Reunion Bowl or whatever you want to call it. It's also really an interesting game for Texas Tech. The natives are restless after coming one play away from losing at home to Abilene Christian to open the year. Micah Hudson, they're the highest rated recruit that they've ever had, played 0 meaningful snaps at wide receiver. Joey McGuire needs to show rapid improvement from week 1 to week 2, or otherwise they could get their doors blown off on the road.
For me, I think perhaps the most improved team from last year to week 1 this year, Arizona State. They won 48-7 against Wyoming. Kenny Dillingham and company watched a couple of their pressers, had a terrible practice earlier this week, really bounced back. So I think player-led leadership has really taken a turn there at Arizona State, which is great. And they take on Jeff Lebby and Mississippi State. So potential for some big offensive fireworks. I know the staff there feels really good about the offensive direction. Defensively, they look to have tightened things up quite a bit, and they made some huge strides from last year. So I'll be interested in that. I think the best barometer of whether that's a good game or not is, are you turning off multi-view on YouTube TV and going full screen? I'm going full screen with that one.
We'll see. Multi-view is phenomenal. YouTube TV, you're amazing. All right, folks, we're out of here. Football Scoop podcast. Tell your friends, tell your neighbors, tell everybody you got. Y'all have a great weekend. Enjoy some college football. Doug, good luck on the gridiron Friday night. We'll see everybody soon.